ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 o'clock in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Top of the stories. President Tinubu calls for all hands on deck as Nigeria marks 65 years of independence.
On this 65th anniversary of our independence, my message is hope and a call to action. The federal government will continue to do its part to fix the plumbing in our economy.
Ghana's President Mahama warns against hate speech, pledges stronger cybersecurity collaboration.
But as with all revolutions, there are risks. The same technologies that empower us can also be exploited to disrupt economies, to manipulate information, steal people's identities, or even compromise critical national infrastructure.
And 2025 Africa Fact Check and Summit gets underway in Dakar with focus to address growing challenges of disinformation on the continent. And IOM repatriate over 100 Gambian migrants from Tunisia. Details of these stories and more coming up shortly if you be my guests.
Christopher Aticho with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners within the sub-region and beyond. Newslink begins with Nigeria because the Federal Republic of the country has today marked its 65th independence anniversary. In a national address, President Bola Tinubu called for a collective effort to reposition Nigeria globally, urging a shift from consumption to production. He defended tough economic reforms, including the removal of fuel subsidies, saying they are necessary to build a stronger economy despite rising hardship. Nigerians continue to grapple with inflation, weak currency, and slow growth. Here is an excerpt from President Bola Tinubu's Independence Day speech.
Therefore, on this 65th anniversary of our independence, my message is hope and a call to action. The federal government will continue to do its part to fix the plumbing in our economy. Now, we must all turn on the taps of productivity, innovation, and enterprise, just like the Ministry of Interior has done with our travel passports by quickening the processing. In this regard, I urge the subnational entities to join us in nation building. Let us be a nation of producers, not just consumers. Let us farm our land and build factories to process our produce. Let us patronize made in Nigeria. I say Nigeria first. All the goods, let us pay our taxes as well. Finally, let all hands be on deck. Let us believe once more in the boundless potential of our great nation.
And that's Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu. Still in Nigeria, the country's 65th Independence Day today marks a significant milestone in the country's history. The West African state gained independence from British colonial rule on October 1, 1960. Since then, its journey has been marked with mixed triumphs and trials. From a devastating civil war and a series of military coups to the eventual return to democratic governance and ongoing economic challenges. WADR's Usma Uma in this report brings us a wrap on the state of Nigeria 65 years on after independence.
When Nigeria gained independence in 1960, hopes were high for Africa's most populous nation. 6.5 decades later, the country remains a land of vast potential but also deep contradictions. Nigeria boasts Africa's largest economy, driven by oil and a growing tech industry. Yet, poverty, unemployment, and inflation continue to weigh heavily on billions of citizens.
A whole lot has been going on presently, especially on Twitter.
So tribalism, number one, and bigotry, it's quite embarrassing, to be honest. We should have moved beyond that. And I feel like that's like taking one step forward and 50 steps backward. It's quite embarrassing, to be honest.
Security concerns ranging from insurgency in the northeast to banditry across states remain pressing. However, amid these trials, the resilience of Nigerians endures. On the streets of Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, Abuja, and many other cities, citizens reflect on what independence means today.
One thing that surprised me is the spirit of entrepreneurship in the country. Well, I mean the spirit of entrepreneur, the way business is going these days, because I'm an entrepreneur actually, and far back, and it's not just going to school, at least now, if you go to school now, you can do your business, even right in school. And I've always had this mind, I love 8 to 5 job, but these days, you see, before you graduate, a lot of us have our business already. So I think that's one thing for me that I really like. One thing I would want, I think security, because, you know, I usually go out late to do some delivery, and if there's security, there's no time I can't go out. I think that's for me. Security is just one thing if they can, because I can't go outside Lagos. Like, I have phobia for leaving Lagos.
As Nigeria turns 65, it stands at a crossroads. A nation of great strength, still striving to match its promise with the reality of daily life. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
Back here in Senegal, more than 200 fact-checking organizations and information integrity experts from across Africa are meeting in Dakar, Senegal to address the growing challenges of disinformation on the continent. Held under the theme Strengthening Information Integrity, Preserving Democracy, the gathering marks the 4th edition of the Africa Fact Check Summit. Hosted for the first time in a French-speaking country, the 2-day summit will see participants deliberate on a wide range of pressing issues, including the sustainability of fact-checking in Africa, its role in combating climate change disinformation, the impact of AI in climate zone, and the need for region-specific solutions to tackle misinformation. A dedicated session will also focus on community-based health fact-checking and French-speaking African regions. Speaking with WADR News, Habibou Jah, Director of Communications at the Senegalese Ministry of Communications, shared the significance of information sovereignty for Africa's development.
Because we have a lot of social networks and everybody can consider himself as a journalist or as a media, it's then important to ensure that the maximum of people are well educated to identify what is an information and what is not an information, to identify how to check a fact and to check an information. And also the other sociological phenomenon is that people are not now going to classic medias to have information, even the websites. The first reflex is to open a social network, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok. So journalists must ensure that all that they are publishing and they are producing is available in the social network for the population that are not very aware, to make the difference between an information and what's not an information, a misinformation, or what we call in French a disinformation.
Tell us a bit about the Senegalese government's cooperation with fast-checking agencies.
So what we notice is even in the classics newspaper, the journalists who should not make those kind of mistakes, it happens. We need to create a fact-checking desk related to the information and the way. Sometimes maybe the information is good, but the way that it's going out is not the good way, or there is something that's not really true in the process.
Habibou Jah, Director of Communications at the Senegalese Ministry of Communications. Still in Senegal and to issues of health, an outbreak of Rift Valley fever has been affecting Senegal's northern St. Louis region for several days, with health authorities confirming several dozen cases and nearly a dozen deaths so far. Rift Valley fever is a zoonotic disease that spread from animals to humans primarily through contact with infected livestock or mosquito bites. In response, Senegalese health authorities have launched a series of urgent control measures aimed at breaking the chain of transmission in the affected areas. Dr. Abdoulaye Sarr is Deputy Regional Director of Health for the St. Louis region and coordinator of the epidemic response, and he shares key insights into the strategy being implemented so far.
Elle s'organise autour de plusieurs secteurs parce que c'est une zoonose, donc une maladie.
It is organized around several sectors because it is a zoonosis, a disease that passes from animal to human. It is also a disease that affects the environment, sanitation. It is also a disease that affects the health sector. So, around the Regional Committee for Epidemic Management, the sectors have organized themselves to make a coordinated response. In this response, there is a lot of intervectorial fighting activity because, as I said, it is the vector that transmits the disease. There is a vast campaign of peripheral vaccination, that is to say that we vaccinate the animals that are around the foil. If the hygiene services find infected animals, the animals around these forests are vaccinated. And there is also an anti-vectorial struggle among animals, including repulsives that make mosquitoes and peppers. At the same time, hygiene services do spray at home to also be able to reduce the population of vectors, the population of mosquitoes, in order to further reduce the risks. And this is naturally combined with sanitizing activities to reduce the seasickness in others.
Et cela est combiné naturellement à des activités d'assainissement pour réduire les mares d'eau et autres.
Dr. Abdoulaye Sarr is Deputy Regional Director of Health at the St. Louis region in Senegal.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let me take you to Ghana, where President John Dramani Mahama has vowed to clamp down on romance, scam and cybercrime, warning that both citizens and foreigners will face tough punishment. Speaking at the launch of National Cybersecurity Awareness Month and the inauguration of the Joint Cybersecurity Committee, President Mahama said Ghana is deepening collaboration with international partners to track and prosecute offenders. President Mahama also cautioned against the rise of hate speech online, describing it as a threat to national unity and cannot be ignored. Here's Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama.
But as with all revolutions, there are risks. The same technologies that empower us can also be exploited to disrupt economies, to manipulate information, steal people's identities, or even compromise critical national infrastructure. Cyber threats today are more complex and more dangerous than ever before. They are borderless, they are invisible until it's too late, and they evolve every day. Recent studies highlight the seriousness of this issue. The International Monetary Fund's April 2024 Global Financial Stability Report revealed that over the past 2 decades, 20% of all reported cyber incidents worldwide have targeted the financial sector, resulting in direct losses exceeding $12 billion. The JCC brings together representatives from across all our security and intelligence sectors to collaborate closely with the Cybersecurity Authority. This October, Ghana will take another historic step. We'll ratify and sign the United Nations Convention on Cybercrime. This treaty equips us with new tools to investigate attacks, prosecute cyber criminals, and protect critical information infrastructure.
And that Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama. So in Ghana, the year-on-year inflation for September has dropped significantly to 9.4% from 11.5% in August 2025. According to the government statistician Dr. Alhassan Idrisu, this is the lowest inflation since August 2021. He added that food inflation declined to 11% in September from 14.8% in August, while non-food inflation also fell to 8.2% in September from 8.7% in August. Here's the government statistician, Dr. Alhassan Idrisu.
Just to ensure that we have a recap of the story that has been told for September 2025 inflation. The September 2025 inflation of 9.4 is actually showing a reduction in inflation from 11.5% recorded in August. And this 9.4% inflation is driven by a reduction in inflation on locally produced items from 12.2% in August to 10.1% in September, and also a reduction in inflation on imported items from 9.5% in August to 7.4% in September. The 9.4% inflation in September is also driven by a reduction in food inflation from 14.8% in August to 11% in September, and non-food inflation from 8.7% in August to 8.2% in September. And we have similar story for month on month. So the only difference here is that with the month on month, we are actually seeing the general price level increasing between August and September by 0.9%.
And that is Ghana's government statistician, Dr. Alhassan Idrisu. You're still listening to Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on WADR.org. We are also live on Facebook at WADR English Service, as well as YouTube at WADR News. Here's a reminder of our top stories. President Tinubu calls for all hands on deck as Nigeria marks 65 years of independence. Ghana's President Mahama warns against hate speech, pledges stronger cyber security collaboration, and the 2025 Africa Fact-Checking Summit gets underway in Dakar with focus on addressing growing challenges of disinformation on the continent. Still ahead in the news, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, repatriate over 100 Gambian migrants from Tunisia. We do have the guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Let me take you to the Gambia, where a total of 105 Gambian migrants were repatriated from Tunisia to the country on Tuesday with support from the International Organization for Migration, IOM. Their repatriation is part of the organization's Tunisia's voluntary return program, which assessed migrants who wish to return to their countries of origin safely and with dignity. The group traveled on the 18th chartered flight organized by IOM for their voluntary repatriation since the beginning of 2025. Emo Edits completes the story.
According to the International Organization for Migration, IOM, the Gambian nationals will receive support aimed at facilitating their social and economic reintegration under dignified and sustainable conditions. This operation is part of IOM's Voluntary Return and Reintegration Assistance Program, which provides migrants with a safe and supervised repatriation process. In July 2025 alone, IOM facilitated the voluntary return of 1,096 migrants from Tunisia through 3 chartered flights and 35 commercial flights. IOM says as of July 30, 2025, a total of 5,336 migrants have been assisted in returning to their countries of origin under the program. These efforts aim at addressing the increasingly precarious conditions faced by migrants in Tunisia, including limited access to employment, housing and basic services. IOM's voluntary return program remains central to regional migration policies, particularly as Tunisia continues to serve as a key transit point for migratory flows toward Europe. The UN agency reaffirmed its commitment to promoting safe and dignified return options that align with international standards and national priorities.
Emo Edit filed that report. In Liberia, the Armed Forces has announced its readiness to begin a nationwide recruitment process into the Army effective February 2026 with the aim of enlisting 650 new personnel. The announcement was made by the Deputy Defense Minister for Administration, Austin Lamine, during a press briefing on Tuesday at the Ministry of Information, Culture and Tourism. Minister Lamine stated that the recruitment drive is part of a broader effort to increase the numerical strength of the armed forces of the country.
The Armed Forces of Liberia needs to increase our numerical strength. Predicated on that, the Commander-in-Chief, called CIC for this press conference, has approved recruitment exercise for the Armed Forces of Liberia. Target 650 people. The process is very clear. You have to be a Liberian between the ages of 18 and 35. You must be a house graduate post, and you must pass a drug test. You must bring with you a police clearance. There are other physical tests that you get to know later on. This recruitment process is going to be nationwide. Nationwide means we're going to go from county to county. We're going to go from city to city to see how we can get the 650 people. Our target is we hope to reach 5,000 as long as the resources can permit. and the target commensurate with our national security strategy, because our recruitment is in proportion to our military strategy, which is a brainchild of the defense strategy, which is also another brainchild of the national security strategy. We don't just recruit out of space, we recruit based on our trust level and based on what the laws provide. So more information is going to come up to you. Keep listening to the radio, media institution as to how the process is going to unfold.
Deputy Defense Minister for Administration, Augustine Lamin.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
In this guest interview segment, we turn our focus to the Federal Republic of Nigeria as the country today celebrated its 65th independence, marking a significant milestone in its national history. Nigeria is a key nation in West Africa, gained its independence from British colonial rule on October 1, 1960. Since then, its path has been shaped by both triumphs and trial, including a devastating civil war, a succession in military coups, and return to democratic governance and ongoing economic challenges. Joining us is Musa Ododo Abdurrahman, chairman of the National Policy Dialogue, a political expert who helps us to reflect on Nigeria's journey over the past 6.5 decades and also shed insights on where the country stands today and what the future may hold.
We're still backward compared to what democracy is in other climes that have gotten their society, the evolution of our society in all perspective right. So we're still struggling as democracy.
What are the key lessons Nigeria has learned from its civil war and military coups over the years?
I'll answer you no, and I'll give you a practical example. If you see what is happening in Nigeria now, you will know what I'm talking about. Everybody is crying. Don't let elders. Don't let no country survive the two civil wars. We must the way people. I'm talking about elders now, not even people a little older than like us. I'm talking about elder statements now. That since civil war they are talking about, they come out in FIFA fora, they come out in they will team together in all kind of in all kind of different kind of movement. Saying this that they are always coming. To let us know that there is what they saw. Let me paraphrase one. He said what is happening. What they see now is exactly what they saw that preceded the civil war. So meaning that people ask, "Have we not learned lesson?" So my brother, I'm telling you, that's why I said there's no half truth. It's seemingly maybe just looking for words. So we have not learned. I'm telling you, we haven't. I'm in my early 50s now. Sometimes I wonder, why are we like this? And it still boils down to that which I'm talking about. Everybody, Nigeria, that is why I will talk about the existence of the conscious creation of a true nationhood. Nationhood is not simply the product of borders or shared colonial history. True nationhood emerges from conscious statecraft, the deliberate weaving of diverse peoples into a unified destiny. Nigeria's major weakness lies here. It has existed as a country, not yet as a nation. So we are not breathing as a people. We are not.
Right.
So we have not learned any lesson. And I know why we have not learned any of this lesson. But when we started, it was very, very, very good when we started. But people in every generation will discover their own mission. They either fulfill it or betray it. I'm telling you, I must give it to our founding fathers. I still call them the best amongst us. Yes, they knew what they wanted. They wanted independent, and they went for it. They declared to us an independent country. The call and responsibility of this generation is to consciously create a nation out of that country, which we have not. This we have not. There's no conscious aspect to it. All we want is people talk about power. Power. Go and study all these nations. All civilization. Power cannot birth a nation. Nations are born, my brother, and they must be fathered.
Right.
Nigeria is a nation waiting to be born. Nigeria is a nation waiting to be born. So we need fathers to birth for us a nation.
In your view, what are the biggest political challenges Nigeria faces today?
The biggest challenges politics face today that we are not playing higher politics. When I say higher politics, moving away from manipulation, patronage, and this power for power's sake. Politics must be redefined as a noble art of nation building. see, it's going back to that nation building again. So it's not politics that we want to grab power. Power has never governed a nation. I'm telling you, human being cannot govern power. It is only wisdom that can give meaning and direction to power. And it's betting a nation, that is what you need. So there must be a coming together. There must be coming together, not of politics. There must be coming together. Nigeria is at the pinnacle of the most significant evolutionary transition. People that discern time, that understand time, will tell you that we've never been here before. So this is a time. It is in disorderliness orders are created. This is a time that we must come together because a people must believe in a cause, unite on that purpose, have a consensus on where they want to go, how they want to get there, and when as a people. And power do not just necessarily bring it, because the nature of our power is already dividing us. That is why they call it the beautiful line of Nigeria. They call it fault line, ethnic line, religious line. Now that is what power feeds on. Power divides naturally. Immediately you say you are PDP, just like major party PDP or APC in Nigeria, people see it. I say you are not. No, you are PDP. It's already divided. It's already divided because there is no cohesion. There is no cohesion right from beginning. Politics is not supposed to be like that. So I advocate what I call higher politics. That's part of my advocacy, that we must higher politics. Politics are not for us, for purpose. A purpose-driven politics.
Musa Ododo Abdul Rahman is the chairman of the National Policy Dialogue in Nigeria. And in sports this evening, Black Starlets head coach Prosper Ogumnete believes fans will see a different Ghana team when they play Côte d'Ivoire in the finals of the ongoing WAFU Zone B Under-17 Cup of Nations. The game will be a repeat of the second round of group stages fixture when the Black Starlets lost 3-0 to the host country in Côte d'Ivoire. Ghana beat Nigeria to book a place in the final two on Tuesday evening, while Côte d'Ivoire also eased past Burkina Faso in the other semi-finals clash ahead earlier today as well. But again, this evening there are some Champions League actions as well as currently Newcastle is taking on Union St. Giles and Newcastle is ahead 4-0 at 7 p.m. Monaco will be taking on Manchester City. Napoli would also be taking on Sporting Lisbon. Dortmund would also be taking on Atletico Madrid, and then Villarreal would also take on Juventus this evening. Barcelona would also take on Dembele's Paris Saint-Germain, and then PSV would also take on Leverkusen. Arsenal would also take on Olympiacos, and that's sports this evening. And with that, we've come to the end of this evening's edition of Newslink here on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Fali Lusso and Ismaila Kamara for the technical assistance. Do interact with us on all of our social media platforms, X formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR English, and on Facebook at WADR English News. I am Christopher Aticho. Good evening and enjoy the rest of our broadcasts.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, Newmi FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Baga, Liberia, Radio Baf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.
WADR. You can listen to us on 94.9 FM in Dakar.